At 8:45 p.m. on October 2, 2025, deep inside Russia's industrial heartland, while Vladimir Putin was speaking at the Valdai Discussion Club, a swarm of Ukrainian drones was just 10 minutes away from turning a billion-dollar Russian factory into the world's most expensive fireworks display. This is the Azot chemical plant, the beating heart of Putin's war machine, pumping out the explosive ingredients for nearly every artillery shell fired on the front lines. Here's the part that breaks the laws of physics. A drone this size has enough fuel for maybe 600 miles tops. By all accounts, this entire swarm should have run out of gas 400 miles ago. Except the Ukrainians planned for this. The FP-1s aren't flying alone. They are being kept alive by an invisible airborne lifeline, a secret chain of mother drones that beam power to the attackers, extending their range far beyond what Russian engineers thought was possible. And the entire operation is timed to coincide with the single moment Russian commanders are most distracted, a live televised speech by Vladimir Putin himself. But to reach that heart, they must first sneak past a perimeter defense system so unreliable its own operators call it the refrigerator alarm, because it triggers more false alarms than it does actual threats. The Russians have a billion-dollar fortress. The Ukrainians have cheap drones, an invisible energy network, and a perfect understanding of human psychology. It's time to trade muscle for brains. At 8:51 p.m., the lead FP-1 drone crosses the 40-mile detection perimeter. Inside a drab Russian security outpost, the refrigerator alarm finally screeches to life. The system is working perfectly. The problem is, its software takes one look at the dozen low-altitude slow-moving blips and makes a fatal assumption. It dismisses them as a flock of geese flying through the industrial haze. And here's the detail that most analysts miss: the critical design flaw the Ukrainians are banking on. This radar was built to find missiles screaming in from the stratosphere, not a swarm of drones skimming the Earth at 200 feet. It has a built-in 3-second delay in its clutter rejection software. 3 seconds to decide if something is a threat or just noise. For a ballistic missile, that's an eternity. For these drones, it's a golden ticket. Just as the Russian system begins to second-guess its goose theory, the lead drone plays its first card. It spits out a cloud of cheap micro-flares, instantly creating a radar signature the size of a passenger jet. While the Russian radar scrambles to process the sudden massive phantom, the rest of the swarm dives. They plunge into the valleys of the Ural foothills, using the very curve of the Earth as their shield. Their onboard AI reroutes the entire formation's flight path in milliseconds, a calculation made faster than the time it takes a Russian operator to take a sip of his coffee. Zig left. Zag right. The radar is now officially chasing a ghost they've punched through the perimeter. A clean success. That victory, however, is short-lived, because the electronic noise of a radar system flailing in confusion has just woken up the next layer of defense. And this layer doesn't use radar, it uses raw, crushing electromagnetic force. At 8:53 p.m., the operator's screen dissolves into a blizzard of digital snow. A Russian TK-25E electronic warfare pod has just woken up, flooding the air with enough raw electromagnetic energy to fry an iPhone from a mile away. The GPS signal is gone. The control link is dead. For any normal drone over 1,000 miles from home, this is a death sentence. The mission is over. Except the Ukrainians knew this was coming. Just as the operator's connection is severed, the drone's onboard AI switches to ghost mode. This is the genius of the entire plan. While Russia attacks the signal, the drones stop listening for one. They begin navigating using preloaded satellite maps, comparing the terrain their cameras see in real time to the map stored in their memory. It's like trying to jam a driver's radio only to find out he's using a paper map and knows the roads by heart. But the Ukrainian drones don't just passively endure the attack. The swarm executes a pre-programmed countermeasure. One drone peels away from the group, climbs to 500 feet and detonates prematurely. It's a calculated sacrifice. The sudden electromagnetic burst overloads the Russian EW processor, a digital decoy that forces the system to reboot. In that brief window of electronic chaos, the first mother drone in the Ghost Relay makes its move. Launched hours ago from a disguised van near Kursk, it rises to altitude and beams a focused sliver of radio frequency energy across 15 miles, hitting the lead FP-1. The drone's battery, which was dipping into the red, now ticks back up. It just took its first long-distance drink of energy. The signal to the operator flickers back to life. They are through the electronic wall. The only problem? That sacrificial explosion wasn't just an electronic flare. It was a very real, very physical one. And down below, Russian ground patrols just saw it. At 8:55 p.m., tracers from heavy machine guns ripped through the night sky. A panicked, chaotic response from patrols who now know they're under attack. A mobile surface-to-air missile launcher hastily brought to readiness begins slewing its turret hunting for a target. This is the moment where raw firepower should overwhelm cheap technology. But there's a fatal flaw in this frantic response: human reaction time. The commander likely pulled away from Putin's speech just moments ago is shouting orders into a radio. It takes his SAM crew a full 10 seconds to acquire a lock and be ready to fire. Ukraine's entire strategy was built around that 10-second gap between panic and effective action. Just as the SAM system locks onto the swarm, the drones execute their final elegant deception. One drone peels off, climbing sharply and lighting up Russian radar, a willing decoy. While the SAM crew tracks the bait, the real attack group goes low. They scream towards the facility, hugging the terrain and dodging wild bursts of gunfire like pro athletes in the zone. Their AI-driven flight controls are making 50-millisecond course corrections, literally thinking faster than the bullets flying past them. And just then, as their energy reserves dip from the high-G maneuvers, the second link in the Ghost relay chain activates. Loitering 60 miles away, disguised to ground radar is a slow-moving weather balloon. The second mother drone beams a fresh pulse of energy into the swarm, topping off their batteries for the final run. The SAM has been tricked. The ground patrols are firing at an empty patch of sky. And the main attack swarm is now screaming towards the plant at treetop level. The pipes are in sight. But a new alarm is sounding, this time from inside the factory itself. At 8:57 p.m., the Russian command center finally has a eureka moment. Their drones have failed. Their jammers have failed. Their missiles have failed. The attack drones are still coming. This shouldn't be possible. They must have a hidden power source. It's a brilliant piece of battlefield deduction. That's about 5 minutes too late. A wide area search radar sweeping the sky hundreds of miles away gets a faint, intermittent return. It's one of the Furia-M mother drones loitering high in the stratosphere. An Orlan 10 reconnaissance drone is immediately diverted to hunt it down to sever the swarm's lifeline. The Russians think they've found the Achilles heel. But here's the detail they couldn't possibly know. The Ghost relay isn't a simple chain. It's an intelligent, self-healing network. It's like trying to unplug a lamp only to discover the entire house is wired to a dozen different circuit breakers. As the Russian Orlan 10 closes in on one of the Furia-M drones, the Ukrainian network plays its final trick. The targeted Furia-M doesn't run. It projects a decoy energy beam, a ghost signal, leading the Russian hunter away on a wild goose chase. While the Orlan pursues the Phantom, the network's AI has already rerouted the real power flow. It takes the Russian system 10 seconds to calculate and intercept. The Ukrainian AI reroutes the entire network in less than 2. The final critical energy pulse is beamed from the last Furia-M in the chain, one launched just an hour ago from a hidden position only 60 miles from the target. The FP-1 attack drones now just seconds from their objective drink in the final charge. Their batteries jump to 100%. The lifeline is secure. The attack is fully powered. And now there is nothing left between them and the target. Except the factory's own panicked last line of chemical safety protocols. At 8:58 p.m., the fight goes from digital to chemical. Panicked workers inside the Azot plant slam the big red buttons. Emergency safety valves, each weighing hundreds of pounds, begin to grind shut. A chemical fire suppression system awakens, flooding the pipe junctions with a thick white wall of foam. On paper, this is the final heroic stand, a wall of steel and foam designed to stop a catastrophe. Except the Ukrainians already knew its Achilles heel. Using satellite thermal imaging, they had mapped every pipe, and more importantly, they had timed every valve. And they know it takes a full 20 seconds for those heavy steel doors to seal completely.
A 20-second window. The lead FP1 is now 1,500 feet out, time to impact less than 3 seconds. And trying to stop a 15,000 mile/hour jet of molten copper with chemical foam is like trying to stop a speeding freight train with a garden hose. The physics simply doesn't care. The drone's AI, guided by that final pulse from the Furia-M, makes its last micro-correction. It ignores the foam, it ignores the gunfire, it ignores everything except the one thing that matters. The precise weld joint on the main ammonia pipeline, the weakest link in the entire chain. The final course is locked. The final second is ticking away. The factory's defenses are 17 seconds too slow. The FP1's lock the image rock steady. The target isn't the pipe, it's a single discolored weld seam, an imperfection identified by Ukrainian analysts from 400 miles up in space. On the ground, a lone security guard empties his AK-74 into the sky, a final useless act of defiance. His bullets slice through empty air. That billion-dollar factory has the turning radius of a tectonic plate. The drone, however, needs just 15 milliseconds to make a fatal adjustment. The wall of white foam rushes up to meet the camera. The emergency safety valve is still grinding shut. It's too late. At 8:59 p.m., the FP1 connects. This isn't an explosion. It's a physics lesson delivered at the speed of light. The drone's shaped charge detonates, triggering what is known as the Monroe effect. The blast doesn't expand outwards. It focuses inward, crushing a solid copper cone inside the warhead. In less than a microsecond, that cone turns inside out, forming a jet of molten metal. That jet, traveling at over 15,000 miles per hour, hits the 0.6-inch thick steel pipe, not like a bullet, but like a needle through paper. The superheated copper instantly ignites the pressurized ammonia inside. The result is a secondary explosion that rips the pipeline open from the inside out. It transforms Russia's most critical explosive ingredient into their single most spectacular oops moment of the year. The Kremlin's official story will be a masterpiece of denial. A technical malfunction. A refrigerator explosion. Anything but the truth. But that fire isn't just burning a factory. It's incinerating the key ingredient for nearly every Russian artillery shell. The 2.3 million tons of nitrogen fertilizer produced here isn't for growing crops. It's for making things go boom. Ukraine didn't just hit a building. They hit the heart that pumps the explosive lifeblood to the entire front line. And that sparks a logistical nightmare that stretches 1,000 miles back to the battlefield. The chain reaction is brutally simple. No ammonia means no explosives. And no explosives means the cannons fall silent, not for a lack of targets, but for a lack of anything to fire. But the fallout isn't just physical. While Vladimir Putin was on live television talking about an invincible Russia, this fire was providing the live fact-check broadcast across the Ural sky. The myth of a secure Russian heartland didn't just crack. It was shattered and uploaded to Telegram in 4K resolution by panicked locals. The bear hasn't just been poked in its own cave. Its humiliation is now going viral. And this is the true genius of the attack. It hands Moscow an impossible choice, a strategic checkmate. The Russian generals are now looking at a blanket that is suddenly far too short. Do they pull their advanced Panzer air defense systems from the front lines to guard factories deep inside Russia? Or do they leave their industrial heartland completely exposed? Every Panzer move to protect a city in the Urals is a new gaping hole opened up for Ukrainian jets over the battlefield. This single cheap drone strike has forced Russia to use its own shield to weaken its own sword. Let's do the math. A few $1,000s in modified drones and sheer ingenuity just neutralized $1 billion asset and created a strategic crisis for a superpower. The lesson is brutal. In modern warfare, it's not about the size of your army. It's about the size of your ideas. If you were the commander of this drone swarm, what would your next target be to exploit this new Russian weakness? Let me know your strategy in the comments below.